Good afternoon, everyone. Well, obviously, the title of our amazing event has been announced. A little kind of bit of housewarming stuff, you know, where the refreshments are on the toilets and fire exits this morning. But just so that you know, this event is being filmed to go on our YouTube channel. Asks me to introduce you, but I feel like you know your work and what you do probably a lot more than I do. So could you just introduce yourselves with your name and a few little aspects of your project you're working on at the moment and a bit of your background?
Okay, my name is Leanne Moonraven, and I'm American. I've been here in Britain for the past year and a half. And last year, between February and November, I produced 5 short films. I'm still alive. But England is my home now, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be here to speak with you all today. And with this illustrious panel of women, and happy International Women's Day to everyone.
Hi, my name is Alicia St. Just, born and raised in Birmingham. Background, my family's from Caribbean island of St. Kitts. I am an actor, freelance theatre practitioner, and also do youth work. I've been working with youth and creative arts fields for about 17 years now. I'm older than I look. So started off in youth work and then bringing drama to youth work, and now creating my own stuff, creating my own short films. Just finished shooting one, so that's looking at mental health and grief with young black men. So that'll be coming out at some point this year. I've also shot a film in St. Kitts last year as well. But I'll talk about it over there.
Hi, I'm Luanda Yasmin. I'm an actress and writer and content creator. I have been on a journey with spoken word for pretty much my whole life, but it's something that I've kind of put to the side because I've always focused on my acting, which is my #1 career goal. Is to be able to live off the money I create from that. And I just came back from a theatre tour with a company called Stan's Cafe. We did a play called The Capital. So we got to do about, I think, 6 to 8 stops on the tour there. It was my first one, so that was great. I also have been creating content. I recently started a YouTube channel, and my videos I'm just talking about things that are important to me, which are my feminism, specifically intersectional feminism, veganism, and the black experience. So I kind of just hope that every video that I create helps someone understand the life of the person more, or if you are the disenfranchised people I refer to within my videos, that you feel less alone, if that makes sense.
I know how to follow that, as they say. My name's Helga Henry. I did read all the things it kept saying. Talk about your artist, you know, your work as an artist. And I have to say immediately that I'm not an artist. I am right now. I'm a freelance consultant. I work primarily in the arts. I have I've been an arts administrator for many years, with a strange interlude in the middle where I was a corporate lawyer. And that pendulum, swinging from a non-hierarchical, separatist, feminist theatre company to the city's largest corporate law firm, there's a sort of batshit craziness that kind of sort of defines my career. So right now I work with artists and arts organisations primarily to help them grow. So I help them clarify their vision, help them think about how best to make their money doing the thing they love, and how to hopefully stay sane and happy in the process.
My name's Tessa Walker. I'm the Associate Director at Birmingham. This means that I direct several shows there a year. I do lots of work, set up lots of the work that our artist development programmes do, and work not exclusively but largely in new work. So if there's any new piece of writing or a new piece of theatre, I tend to have some level of involvement in that, whether that's just supporting the artist or realising that work myself. And I've done a lot of work connecting up artists and communities in the city to make work. And I'm currently working on a production of Jekyll and Hyde, in which both Jekyll and Hyde are women. It's a sort of reworking of the original novella with members of our young rep who are between 15 and 18.
Before we move on to the next question, I wanted to more personally ask, what made you decide to do that with
That show?
Two Women?
Well, it's an existing adaptation by a brilliant writer called Evan Placey, and he had wanted to, I don't know how many of you know Jekyll and Hyde, but there's basically two women in there. One of them gets run over, and one of them was only mentioned once. I mean, they're completely absent from the story, but it's also it's studied on GCSE. It's on the GCSE syllabus still. So I think his starting point was, what is it to be a young woman reading this today when you're literally removed from the narrative? So what he's done is he's picked up the story at the end of when the novella finishes, our story starts. And it's about Jekyll's wife, Harriet, who it transpires is sort of cleverer than he is and advances her science on much more, but is largely ignored by the Victorian society, who does not for 1 second take a female scientist seriously. And then it's intercut with scenes of modern day and sort of, I suppose, asks the question of how far we've come in terms of equality, and in terms of women having access to worlds. So it's a brilliant thing to be talking about on International Women's Day, but it's an absolutely brilliant adaptation and is very sort of radical in as much as it's removed quite substantially from the original, but in being very radical, it sort of somehow has stayed very true to the things that Stevenson was writing about, and it's a real joy to do it with young people because they just embrace it. And it would feel very different to do that with the original story, where it would just be a couple of women hanging around in the background, but they've just taken the lead roles and reshaped them around those narratives, which is amazing.
To bounce off from that, is there any times any of you on the panel have felt that your work hasn't been taken as seriously and you need to validate it in a different way because, or that you've thought, this piece of work I need to look at again, or I need to push this in a different way because I'm not being taken seriously in this setting?
When I originally came out of high school and went to college, my department chairman told me that I would never make it in Hollywood because I'm black and I'm female, so I might as well change my major and go do something else. And at 18, I bought into that. I was impressionable and I didn't have the type of support that I needed. So it's taken me really 30 years to come back around to where I need to be. And the truth about it is he may have been right, but it wasn't because of my ability, but I'm a completely different person now than I was then. And I'm just a real badass bitch now. And I would dare him to challenge me that way today. And I sit here, and as I said, I have written and produced 5 short films in 10 months. And when I completed my first film, I gave a big middle finger to him. It's like, here I am. So, yeah.
And so
I use that as my strength now.
Yeah, sometimes there's moments when you're thinking, this is the worst thing someone's ever said to me. It's actually really nice years later to be like,
Exactly.
Yeah, and you have that power then. It's like ammunition to keep you going sometimes. Yeah. We'll take it from this side round of which female artist or even just a female leader have you been inspired by, either locally or internationally?
So I think it's true to say that I wouldn't be a director without seeing the work of Julia Bardsley when I was younger, who is an extraordinary director who works at Leicester Haymarket. I grew up in Coventry, between Coventry and Leicester, and I saw a number of her productions when I was sort of 15, but firstly with school and then I went on my own. And they were some of the most extraordinary productions to this day I have ever seen. And I remember she gave a talk afterwards, and I suddenly realised there was this thing called a director, that there was this role, and that existed. I had really no idea what that was, and I think because I thought her work was so astonishing and unlike, and actually now I look back and working in a very big regional theatre myself, I think it was a very radical decision for the Leicester Haymarket to put her work front and centre, because her interpretations of work were not always popular, and they really sort of were quite big departures from that. She often worked on classic texts, but I just thought, I saw a production of Hers of Blood Wedding. I went with the school. I went back twice on my own. It was definitely a thing that made me fall in love with theatre, and then also and then hearing her talk. And then a few years ago, I got in touch with her. It was around International Women's Day, and someone asked a similar question. I thought, I wonder what she's doing now. She's an academic and a maker, and I just emailed her to say, I just want to let you know that if I had not seen your work, I wouldn't have been. She sent a very nice email back. But it was really nice to be able to say that, because I think actually I can pinpoint that moment when I thought, oh, this is a thing you can do, and that it makes a female presence for young women very important, doesn't it? There, where you sort of see yourself represented, I suppose. So I would say it was her. Many other people along the way, but fundamentally, probably that first influence would have been her.
Yeah, I struggle with this question, not because I have any one woman role model, but I think there's something I learned from almost every woman I work with, one way or another. I suppose from the point of view, it was interesting when I was a lawyer, a lot of at that time, and it wasn't really that long ago, but it was in the early 90s that I went into a big law firm. But I remember the day that we were told we were all going to have a PC on our desk. And everyone was like, get out of town. All of that, none of that was happening. You know, so it was the year, 6 months before I joined the law firm, they had just changed the dress code so that women could wear trousers. As long as there was a trousers.
In the
early 90s, yeah.
Wow.
At Rag and Co.
I couldn't wear trousers in my school.
We could wear trousers as long as it was part of a trouser suit. So you had to wear trousers. So you had to have a matching jacket. Yeah, so no. It was business attire, so you wouldn't have been wearing jackets. So there's that, and a lot of the female partners at that time were not sisters. They were what I called kick the ladder away merchants.
Yeah.
You know, they were she-males, and that's what they'd done to get on. So there's some things that that sounds like that influenced me the other way. And in my earlier career as an arts administrator, I remember there's some fantastic. There's a woman called Jacqueline Contré. I think she's still around, but she ran a theatre called Banner Theatre at the time. And there was even more recently women like she used to be general manager of Birmingham Opera Company, a woman called Jean Nicholson, and also. May she rest in peace, Rhonda Wilson, who ran a photography project. And these were older women who, when I say older women, a bit older than me, who were just supremely competent and nice with it. Because even now, I think, there are some women who, in leadership positions, have had to adopt, it's unfair of me to say masculine tropes, but certain tropes of behaviour that we wouldn't necessarily associate with sisterhood. So I think, I learned from lots of them, and I think people who've gone before and done that. And then in kind of an odd way, Madonna in her day had an amazing, had an artistic career, whatever you think of her output, she had an artistic career and an incredible business output. And she had a real business brain. And she played that really cleverly, and I really liked that. I don't think that's probably the first time that Jean Nicholson and Madonna have ever been in the same, for those of us who know us. But they're very similar.
I feel something quite similar to that, as in it's hard for me to narrow down just to one person. I could say, oh, this person's my idol, and I, would love to live their life or something like that. In reality, I think there's multiple actresses and multiple activists that inspire me every day. Just from the top of my head, Letitia Wright, Viola Davis, Zoe Saldana, Yara Shahidi. If you guys know these women, Yara Shahidi is, I don't know, she's like 18, 19, she's a kid basically, but she's part of two programs which I think are very relevant and important, one being Blackish and the second one being Grownish. So I don't know if you guys have seen any of them, but they're both comedies, but they're revolutionary television in the way that they are talking about issues with the black community that so far in my life I'm only hearing being spoken about within the black community, if that makes sense. Yeah. So things that me and my family would talk about growing up that would be no different to any kind of conversation we'd have with our black friends at school. We talk about colorism, we can talk about slavery, we talk about anything. It's not just one set narrative for black people that I have seen growing up in this industry being presented at me through books and television and films. So today we have the option of us telling our own narrative, and I think that's opening just so many doors for everyone, because it doesn't, like Black Panther, because I mentioned Letitia Wright as well, who's in Black Panther. Black Panther broke ticket sales records before it was even in cinemas, and that's not because only black people were buying those tickets, like everyone saw that film, do you know what I mean? So I think once we represent people equally and we let them represent themselves, then we all have a better understanding of each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those women for speaking on issues that Hollywood makes it feel kind of taboo to talk about, I respect them for that.
Thank you. Same, I've got quite a few different people that inspire me, but one I'll mention is Rebecca Hemmings. She's from Birmingham. She's been in the theatre game and dance game for years and years. She gave me my first job as manager of the dance group back then. She inspires me because she's so determined, she's so talented. I can just look up to her and see that, you know, anything's possible. She created her own work. She did like her own version of Cinderella. It was called Girls Can't Hip Hop. So I played one of the main leads in this years ago on the drum, which no longer exists. So I'd say Rebecca Hemmings is definitely a big one for me. And she's always there, like, Elisha, you could do this, you could do that. She even suggested my name to Samuel for this. And I thought, oh no, I can't do this. I've never spoken on the panel, what I'm going to say, what if they ask me questions I can't answer. But she's like, no, you can do it, you can do anything. I always doubt myself, but she always gives me that confidence, like, look, you've been doing this for so long, you can do it. Sherelle Skeet, she's from Birmingham as well, but now based in London, so she was in Harry Potter. I grew up with her, I used to dance with her, so seeing those people that I've kind of mingled with, Letitia Wright, I went to some acting classes with her in London with Melamine. So like seeing these people that I've been around and, you know, normal people just like me, and seeing that, you know, put your mind to it and go for it, anything's possible, so yeah.
I think my idol, and you know, I've been asked this question so many times, like if you could have dinner with, you know, a person living or dead, who would it be? And I always say Harriet Tubman, and if you're not familiar with who she is the black woman who led 1,000 slaves to freedom through the Underground Railroad in America. And she is my idol, and I really channel her because I think anybody who could have been put in that position to lead a group of people, you know what organizing people is like, and leading them through fear and anxiety and in the dark with only the moon and having to trust people not to turn you in. And she was just a little bitty woman, you know, to be able to do that physically, mentally, and emotionally. Whenever, you know, I'm like, girl, you have nothing to complain about if she could get through that. So she is my absolute idol, and I try to channel her whenever I feel the pressures or challenges of everyday life. I also really value Michelle Obama and Shonda Rhimes. Career-wise, I would say Shonda Rhimes. Shonda Rhimes, if you don't know her, she writes Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, and How to Get Away with Murder. And they all run back to back on Thursday night on a major network. So she broke records as a writer. And professionally, if I could even just get one episode, I would really be happy. So those are, I think, my top three.
Speak a little bit from all of you there about women helping other women and women not so helping other women. Are there any examples either of ways that you've been helped and you thought that's a great, why can't I need to do this to someone, I need to bring this empowerment to someone else, or times that you thought that's not great, I don't know why this person's behaved in that way, that are noteworthy to any of you?
It could be the same person, because I think women sometimes are stereotyped as being catty and vindictive, and we can't get along, and we're, you know, bitchy. Although I know men that fall into that category, but you know, for some reason, if you're a woman, it's more acceptable to be described that way. But I think women, we also take that same energy and can use it to do really good things as well. I think we do need to bond as women. There's enough out here for all of us, trust me. We're not gonna knock heads There's enough in the industry for us to all be individuals and to do our own work and to help each other, because I don't know how you feel about karma, but always putting that good karma out always brings back good karma. And I'm not intimidated by other women. I love women, and I feel that we get so much done, you know, when we stick together.
Yeah, on the back of that, as I said, like I've been doing this since early 2000s, and then I kind of went down the route of youth work and doing the drama facilitation, and then the acting kind of got put on the back. And then it's only now that I was like, you know, I need to kind of tip the balance, because as much as I want to help others, I've got to help myself. Just like on the aeroplane, like they say, put your own mask on first, then you can help somebody else. So back in the day, I used to put on a lot of projects, used to run my own drama classes with people, got awarded funding from like Big Boost, Lottery, etc. And I've helped a lot of people. So this year I actually was talking on Twitter to Amara Spence, who just did something at the Rep, and we've never met each other before, but I've always heard of her and didn't realise that she'd heard of me as well. And she's like, oh, I look forward to speaking to you after the show. I know a few people that have got into theatre because of you. I'm like, because of me? And she's like, so when I spoke to her, she's like, yeah, this person. And I was like, wow, you don't realise the impact. Because me, I'm so passionate about it. So to me, it's not a thing about helping someone. If someone says, oh, there's this show on, or I need this person, I'm like, right, connect. But it's a shame that not everyone thinks like that, because after this break that I've taken, I've come back and I'm just like, okay guys, I'm back, hi, and it's like, door. And I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. So that's why I'm a person, I will not sit down and wait for you to give me an opportunity. I have no money to do it, but I will go out there and create my own film. That's why I've done my own film, because I'm like, wait for opportunity. I want to act in something and I'm going to sit here waiting for someone, please. No, I will create my own opportunities. So yeah, I think, as you said, put out that good karma. It may not always come back, but it will come back in some shape or form from somewhere. So, yeah.
I agree with both of what you were saying. And I think for too long we've all learned to have this kind of like crabs in the bucket mentality, where if like someone else is going up, they can't.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you won't get there as well. And we've kind of been taught that in every room is like a man's room, and there's like one chair for a woman, and we all have to fight for it, and we can't be there together. And it's that mentality that has held us back for so long, and it's been so smartly positioned there because, and something that someone said when I was at an event as well, people are always looking to network up, but no one ever remembers to network sideways. Yeah. And because everyone has kind of been tunnel visioned, thinking that there's only one opportunity for one type of woman, that is the thing that holds us back the most. When in fact we can be allies to each other and make sure that everyone's represented, non-binary people and trans women and trans men and every person of every class and colour. So I think the more that we learn that, the more the industry grows into what we want to see it as. We all have this kind of vision that we view the industry in the future, and you think, oh, my kids aren't going to deal with this stuff. Well, it's us that needs to put the work in today to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think of when you asked me that question, a couple of people sprung to my mind in particular whose careers I've been. I'd actually say it's been a real honour and privilege to mentor. Like, I have mentored and championed their work quite closely over a number of years. One of them is Gemma Thomas, now Gemma Davis, who, when I met her, in fact, I did a series of startup training courses in the creative industries, and this would be now back in 2008, 9 to 10 years ago. And when I met Gemma, I was doing 7 sessions in Stoke-on-Trent. She came to the first session, it was every Thursday for 6 weeks. And she said, the thing is, I wonder if you can help me. I really want to make stuff happen in Stoke-on-Trent. I don't want to have to keep coming to Birmingham for studied performance. I don't want to keep having to come to Birmingham. I just want to make Stoke-on-Trent really live. I went, good luck with that. And I said, oh, that's good. What are you doing at the moment? And she said, I work in accounts payable at the Muller Light Factory. I went, oh, okay. Well, how come you're coming to this then? She said, I've booked 7 days annual leave. And I went, oh, all right. Oh, I like you. There's something about you. Flash forward 10 years. Oh, actually, Gemma is now. Gemma was an artistic producer at the Appetite programme. She managed a £3.1 million programme of arts in Stoke-on-Trent. So she just met me, and 6 years later, that just happened. I know! She worked really, really hard. And she's got incredible talent. And the Appetite programme was named because in her presentation at work, she said, I want people to have an appetite for, in Stoke-on-Trent, to have an appetite for culture like they do for oat cakes. Yeah. So, how could you not be proud of that? I am, and you know, there's not. I don't have children. There's some of my. I have to. I confess, some of my sublimated parental energy has gone into. I think that's really that's happened. I'm working. I wouldn't say quite in quite such a mentoring way, but I'm currently working as a acting interim director for Anise at Beat Freaks while Anise is having a baby, had a baby. And I'm incredibly proud of those relationships. I'm incredibly proud of what those women have done. And I think the thing that people forget, it's two things I think. I think people forget what an honour and a privilege it is for the person doing the quote-unquote mentoring. Like the mentor doesn't get anything out of it when they absolutely, I learn, I know it's a cliche, everyone says you learn more from people, but you absolutely do. And another thing that's always been helpful to me, and maybe this is just a quirk of mine, but I try not to think of people in levels. I try not to, like, oh, you're the chief exec and I'm just a fill in the blank. Because it's not, you're a person and I'm a person. You've got more experience than I've got. Maybe you've got different, you might have an agenda, you might be a bit busier than I'd like you to be, so you can't speak to me. But that's not because you're above, who's above anybody? And so when people say, I never thought you'd want to talk to me, I'm always like, why on earth? And first of all I go, what is it? Do I give off some horrible fuck off vibe? And then I just go, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And I think the more that we can be, occasionally you have a position of responsibility or authority or leadership that means you've got to do some tough decisions, and that means you're paid more. It doesn't mean you're above talking or being with people and getting a contribution from them and vice versa.
Yeah, I just think all of that is, I just think I agree with all of it. And I suppose one of the things, I work in a big organisation, and when I wanted to be a director, I didn't really know what to do. I felt very much on the outside of all of it. And one of the things, sort of actually what I've been saying really, that I feel proudest of is that I've tried to open that up to as many people as possible whilst I've been at the rep. And particularly I think it's always been important to me to nurture, mentor, support new directors, because the thing is about directors is that we're decision makers. We put worlds on stage, we decide who's going to tell those stories, we decide what those stories are, we run buildings, we run companies, we're decision makers. And if you can diversify a pool of directors, a whole lot more will follow. And I think an intersection of voices making work and deciding which stories we see is one of the most important things that you can be involved in. And I'm also mindful, having spent years and years as a freelancer, kicking about doing all sorts of bits and pieces with all sorts of companies, I'm very mindful of what those big companies can look like and how intractable they can feel and how impossible it can feel to access them. And I've always felt it very important at the rep is that I do everything I can to make sure, and I'm not alone in that, I work with a team of people who feel very passionately about that, but that that this is a theatre for everybody. They pay their taxes. All theatre is a people's theatre. We need to be open and responsive to anyone who might be an artist in our city. And I think maybe that's what you're talking about when we're sort of networking outwards.
Yeah.
And I've been very lucky. I've never felt like I have met, and I've made certain choices about. I've never had a male boss. I've worked in all female companies. I've worked with lots of female writers. I've made choices about where I want to put my time and energy and where I think those stories should come from. And I struggle to think of maybe I'm just naive and haven't realised it, but I struggle to think of a woman who has not been sisterly. And maybe I'm very lucky, or like I said, I just ignored it. I think it's about the places that you partly, certainly for me anyway, I can only speak for myself, I've positioned myself. Like I'm not interested in
there's all sorts of conversations I'm not interested in being in, people I'm not interested in working with. I don't consider it worthy of my time or energy, and that's helped. I think that's certainly helped.
There's been some really lovely comments that has kind of warmed me a little bit. Yeah. On a slightly less positive note, when you're facing some kind of elements of discrimination, or you're having to push your work a little bit harder, or whatever it might happen to be, or just generally working in competitive industries, with no matter the gender here, what have you done individually, or you think we could do more as a community to build resilience? And we'll take it from this side. And whether that be dealing with massive workloads or lots of small projects that are going on at once, and whatever it might be, what do you do for that kind of self-care and resilience?
Tell me the question one more time.
How do you build resilience when you're working in this kind of industry?
Lots of gin.
Or red wine.
Okay, so everybody here, look at everybody else. Everything that you have ever felt emotionally in your life, there's somebody else in this room that has felt that way. So the first thing I do is, I'm not the only one this shit's happening to. And I put it in perspective. And we all feel beat down at times, and things come in peaks and valleys. And what I try to focus on is that just like the peak is not going to last forever, the valley's not going to last forever. And it's taken me a long time to not be as hard on myself, because I'm harder on me than anybody ever would be. But I've really started to indulge in self-care. And in indulging in self-care, I also, again, had to tell myself it was okay to indulge in self-care. So girl, I go get a massage once a month. I go eat the cake if I want the cake. I don't go to the gym if I don't want to go. I meditate, and I really remember, it's like you said, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can do anything. And you cannot conquer the world if you're tired, if you're exhausted, if you're depressed, if you suffer from anxiety. You've got to rejuvenate your stores, whatever that is for you, whether it's taking a moment to read a book, watch a film, walk the chase, whatever. You have to replenish yourself, because you cannot conquer those challenges if you're exhausted. And looking out here, I have some years on you guys, so if I could give you any advice that would save you years of learning, that would be my tip, is to make sure that you take care of yourself. Because once you have enough sleep, and you have enough food, and you have enough people around you who care about you, you really can't conquer anything. There's nothing you can't do without those things in place. Did that answer your question?
That is fantastic.
Oh, what's left to say? So I echo everything that she just said. And don't be afraid to ask others for help. As Leanne said, everybody else is dealing with stuff as well. You know, you're not alone. The services out that you can speak to. Personal development is very important, working on your personal development, you know, setting yourself goals, taking that time out to reflect, look at what you've achieved. Because a lot of the time we just go. I'm like, oh, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. But if you take a moment just to step back and look, oh, I actually did achieve that, and you know, and look at those small achievements as well. It's not always about, oh, I made this thing or I did that thing. You know, today I helped this person, or, you know, I networked and got a business card, or whatever it is. Like, look at the small things and the big things.
Today I drank enough water.
Yeah,
That's a really key
That's really good. You need to be
achievement.
hydrated. So yeah, I can't add much more to that. Thank you, Leanne.
I think this is something that I'm still learning at this point in my career. I am finding it difficult to be in spaces where I feel I'm not understood, if that makes sense. So, for example, I think a lot of the time, especially as a black woman, sometimes you can be brought into a certain space to tick a box. And when this happens, say I'm like joining something that beforehand hadn't had anyone that looked like me, and they're realising, okay, we need to maybe diversify our group or whatever, so they bring in a black woman or a woman of colour or a person of colour. And I feel that from my experience, I have dealt with people wanting the good side of that, so they can say, oh well, you know, there's that black woman box, we've ticked her, we'll have her at the front of the photo so people know we're with the Times and stuff like that. But on the downtime of those jobs, it feels that I need to switch my blackness off, so I can't be talking about any racism that I've experienced, especially if I've experienced it with people that I'm working with. I can't talk about sexism or misogynoir, which is a specific type of misogyny tailored towards black women, which means that even in progressive environments, we can still deal with a lot of shit. So I felt that when I try to express myself in these spaces, the end result is always the same. Like, I'm always seen as the overly emotional, angry black woman. And it's really hard to deal with, and like I said, I'm still trying to find coping mechanisms. I try writing, like I talked about my spoken word earlier, because it really flows out when I'm in those emotions. But then after I finish writing the poem, like, I still feel the same way. So I don't know yet, is my answer to that question.
Thank you.
I think, if I think about the artists and organisations I work with, the thing that's a lot of the time is in the way of them being resilient is they simply don't ask for enough money. They simply just don't. They go, yeah, I'll do that for 120 quid, or whatever, for a day. It's like, I know that, and they say, yes, but I'm new, not very experienced. I've not done that before. Whatever that is. And I think there is and I would say this now, and so actually I take it as a badge of honour because I'm a consultant, I'm highly trained, I used to be a solicitor. It took me 8 years. I left the law after 8 years in practice, and I still hadn't paid off my law loans. In fact, my redundancy money from Remco paid off my law loans, you know? So I invested heavily in my learning. And so maybe that gives me a more acute sense of the value that I bring to things. Because I don't, when people say, oh, you're expensive, aren't you? I go, yeah, damn right. Because I'm really good. Now, of course, the flip of that is you have to be really good. But I'm not really good at everything. And there's a triumvirate that Audiences Agency talk about, which is reach, relevance, and resilience. And I think, and it's normally applied to organisations, but I think it applies to individuals. Work out what your relevance is to the marketplace and get really good at it. Have the reach of what, you know, so in whatever that is, know what your reach is. By which I mean don't amass hundreds of Twitter, thousands of Twitter followers, it's meaningless. Have the reach as in know that what you do will penetrate in whatever area you're in. And that will give you the confidence to be resilient. And I think it ties in a little bit. Robert De Niro once said, the talent is in the choices. So it's also about the choices that you make. And I know a lot of you are graduates or new graduates, and I know, because I've had the conversation face to face with people going, it's all very well for you to say that, Helga. You know, you've been in the business a long time. But I really just wish somebody had told me that. Because money's just an energy. It's like sleep or food. It's just a measure of energy. But artists in particular, and arts organisations, often live out of a poverty culture. And they don't see the abundance. And so they choose, in not seeing the abundance, and not seeing that there's an abundance of talent and value and training and expertise that they're offering. I'm not saying now that you all become Naomi Campbell and don't get out of bed for less than 50k, you know. But there's a bit of that you need to channel, as well as and that's where. But that only works if you take it hand in hand with your development. Of course, there's emotional resilience, and I think everyone here has talked about it. Very important things about one's resilience. But there's also something about material resilience. More people. I was at a conference once where somebody said, "Oh, of course, there's a very low insolvency rate in creative industries. Very, very few of them go bankrupt." And I was like, "That's because everyone bails before they don't go bankrupt. People leave and become teachers." And I don't mind that people leave and become teachers, but let them leave and become teachers because they're burning to become a teacher, not because they can't make ends meet doing art. I'm sorry, it's a bit of a... As you can see, I'm kind of passionate about it because it gets skirted around. BCU accepted, maybe. It's not taught properly in universities. And when I worked at Fierce, I had to tell more interns than enough that this is a paid internship, and can you send me an invoice? How do I write an invoice? Geez, why is that not taught? That's ridiculous to me. Sorry. So that's the bit of resilience. Sorry, I thought you were doing a time up, so I'm going to shut up.
I was just agreeing with what you said.
All right, that was a snap.
Yeah. I think all those things. I think all those things are right and brilliant. I think it's having good people around you as well, like knowing who your gang are and who your community are, and that changes and it grows. But find good people, stick with them, be a good person to them, let them be good to you when you need them to be. It's very helpful having. I think being a director is in some ways, it's an absolutely ridiculous job. It's really helpful to have other people who understand that. And there's very specific things that you might encounter that you don't know how to deal with, to speak to other people. Everyone has their own relationship to competition. I think this industry is as competitive as you make it and you seek it. And I have never sought competition. Genuinely, I'm not interested in it. It doesn't help me. I know for a lot of people it has helped actually. It's really inspired them and it's really given them a fire. It doesn't help me. It doesn't interest me to sort of work, to engage with that, either individually or kind of career-wise, it's just something that I've actively avoided. And that's maybe, I've actively avoided that. But find good people, I would say. Just put good people around you. And those people will change as you grow and as you develop, and there'll be people who are your running mates for your whole career and people who are just supposed to be there for a little while. Mm-hmm. But that feels like the most important thing to me, is to know who your community are, build it, grow it, welcome other people into it, and be a network.
Thank you. We'll start from Tessa this time round with our last question before we open up to some Q&As. So get thinking, please. Of what is the one piece of advice that you would like to share with us? Maybe that's something you received at the beginning of your career and you wish you'd taken more note of it, or something that has someone else said to you and you thought that is great the whole way through, or something that you kind of learned along the way.
Well, I think it is that thing about putting good people around you, I would say. That's felt one of the most important things to me. I was always, one of the brilliant things about working in theatre, it sort of relates to what you're saying, it's both a negative and a positive, is that you never really earn very much money. But what that helped me do is to make, I've only ever done the work I want to do, because actually I can go and work in a bar or a bookshop and earn just as much. And in some ways, that's not we should be paying people properly. But in a way, there's a funny way of dealing with that where it gives you a bit of freedom. So I was just always a little bit picky. Like I didn't want to be an assistant director, though I did it a couple of times. I didn't want to be an assistant director to a male director, although there's amazing male directors. I wanted to work with another woman, so I did that. I think be picky from the start, and also that will change. You know, suddenly one thing is absolutely not of interest, and then something else is, and that's fine. So don't overly define what you do, but go with what's in your heart, because you will know the answer, I think. But also be bold, go towards places that are surprising. But I would say be picky. Pursue the things that you really want, because it's your energy, it's your time, it takes up a lot of your life. The work-life separation has not been the same for me, and I'm sure for all of us, those two things blend into each other, and that's brilliant. So be choosy, be really choosy, and put good people around you, I would say.
Bosworth once said that true wealth was not having lots of money, but having few needs.
Very wise.
I would say, and I don't think it was something that was told me, but I wished I'd known. So I'm going to tell you. It's two things about confidence. Number one, confidence is context specific, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. And number two, confidence is a skill that can be learned. I think that's the other thing I would really, really say. So what I mean by confidence is context specific, is often I will speak in public and I'm happy and I know how to speak in public. It's something I know I do well. And people come up and go, oh, I wish I had your confidence. You know, in the looms, ladies will go, oh, I wish I had your confidence. And I often turn around and go, you wouldn't say that if you saw me drive a car. I am the most underconfident driver. I apologise all the time. I'm better now, and I'll come to that. I'll come to why in a moment. But I am a very underconfident driver. It's a context in which I do not thrive. And I think there's, you know, Iggy Pop. I used to joke that Iggy Pop's song "I Am the Passenger" was written for me. But if I wanted to but I could get better. I am better at driving. Guess what? I practiced. I challenged myself to get. I still have never driven further on a motorway than Bromsgrove. You know, I'm a grown woman and I passed my test 30 years ago, by the way. But I keep having to push myself to get better at driving. I'm not very good at parking. I now make myself park. You know, I give myself little challenges to get better. And as I get better, my confidence grows. So if there's something you think I can't do, I lack. People go, oh, do you lack confidence? I can't do that, I lack confidence. Like it's something you can buy off Amazon. But it isn't. It's in you. You just have to nurture it. So confidence is context specific. So if you're not confident at something, go, I can't do that because I don't feel confident. Well, where do you have confidence and what's it based on? If you know, you go nowhere. No, you've got something. You're a confident swimmer. You're a confident something. How did you get to that point? It might have helped that you had some natural talent. You know, some people are naturally more buoyant than others. But I can't. Actually, just on the swimming part, I also can't do a duck dive because I'm so buoyant. I just can't. Anyway, but I'm having swimming lessons, and I'll learn that. And so I think so. Don't feel it's never too late to learn anything. It's never too late to learn stuff. And confidence is a skill that you can acquire. I suppose those are the things that I'd want to say.
Yeah, I love that. Because I wholeheartedly agree, to be honest. I also feel that as individuals we need to locate our self-limiting beliefs and then destroy them, destroy them all. But not just to kind of ignore them, think about why they're there and where it comes from. So if you are avoiding something, like I think I started off when I was introducing myself, I said like I avoided my spoken word for so long and I just focus on this and focus on this. And is the answer to the question because you haven't put the work in for it to be at a standard that you're proud of? Is it because you've just never tried that and you're scared? Is it because someone told you when you were 8 that you would never do that and you wouldn't do it well, but and you just never tried it again? Like why are they here? Why do they exist? Also, I love this quote and it says, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I live my day-to-day life by that because I think nothing is as scary once you're doing it than your perception of it beforehand. It's never as scary, like nothing I've ever done in my life that I was petrified of, even if I had like shaken hands and I do the thing, it's never as scary. And then you still get the thrill of overcoming your fear. And I think life should be all about that. And I think that there's no need to limit yourself in any way, including your age. So unless you're dead, like it's not over. Because a lot of the time people are like, oh yeah, I want to get back into acting, but I'm 38, and I'm like, I could name to you 5 people who started their careers in their 50s and are doing incredible, you know. So I think, yeah, just don't limit yourself in any way, and it's very much easier said than done because a lot of the times it will be self-limiting beliefs that have garnered over decades, over years, and we've had this for time and we've never thought to address it. So I won't pretend like it's not something that you will have to put the work in, but it's absolutely worth it to be on the other side. And I always say to my friends, like, I feel younger now than I did when I was at school, because at school you think, you're so young and alive, but you think that you know everything. And the most powerful thing that I've learned is that I know nothing at all, and I will never know everything. So all you can do right now in life is just be a sponge and to take in knowledge where you can. If there's something that you see someone else have, like a trait that you value, don't reject it, accept it, and feel love for it and feel gratitude for it, instead of thinking, oh, I wish I had that thing. Think, why, like, what is it that they have? And how did they acquire that? No one's born with it. It is something, like you were saying, it is something that you can learn. Confidence is definitely something you can learn. And I think it's all about our personal journeys and how far we can get to the point of believing that we're limitless and believing that we can do everything. And once you start that journey, so many more doors will open to you that you thought were closed, and it really has just been your mindset the whole time.
I was going to say feel the fear and do it anyway one, but it's gone. I have so many, let me just say a few. So if opportunity doesn't knock, create your own door. Do the damn thing, don't wait on anyone. If you've got an idea, there's so many people around you that are going to be willing to help you, people at the same level as you or whatever not, that want to get into something. You know, be open to helping others and receiving help from other people. Network. That has worked so much for me. I went to watch Blue Orange at the Rep a few weeks ago, spoke to Daniel Bailey after, some like amazing show, he was like, oh, so what do you do? So just gave him a bit of background on myself. The next day he messaged me, so we said you're an actor, are you available for the Poetic Theatre Makers showcase? And I was like, and then I made the decision this year to go back into acting and go hard for it. And I was like, I want it, but I'm scared. But I was like, Elisha, do it. So I was like, yes, okay, I can do it. So did it, and it was amazing. So take those opportunities, network, collab, make your own opportunities. Yeah, that's my advice.
Boy, this is tough after coming.
Sorry, you'll find something.
Cleanup hitter here. Let me think of something that they didn't say. There's two things. I would say don't quit, no matter what. Step back, adjust, shift, adapt, and hit it again. But don't ever quit. And it's okay if you don't know at this exact moment what it is that you want to do.
Yeah, that's really important.
Because it's easier to decide what you don't want to do than it is to decide what you want to do. So I'm a writer, I'm an actor, I'm a producer, I'm a director. I had to go through all of those steps though to find out what it is I really do want to do. So it's easier to eliminate than it is to maybe discover what it is that you want to do. So try everything. It's okay. And some of us blossom later in life. Some people at 18, as soon as they're out of the womb, know exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
You know, some kids, they walk around and they know they're going to be a doctor, and they grow up to be a brain surgeon. And then there are those of us who had no clue until they hit 40. It's like, oh, I kind of like that. So try it all, eliminate what you don't want to do, and then hit what you do want to do hard and never give up.
I think that's really important, isn't it? People's careers develop at different paces.
Sure they do.
And then no one tells you that. So
And we compare ourselves to those people too.
We have different choices and rhythms and priorities, and it's
And
really,
opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's really important, isn't it, to know that you have your own pace at which you work and your own time.
Yeah.
And also, I think right now, just in the current context, how can people know what they're going to do when there are jobs that didn't exist 3 years ago? Like when you started uni, there's some jobs
We didn't have the
exist
internet when I was growing up.
No,
if you can believe that.
I mean,
So
maybe drone pilots now a job. No, that's a thing. It's a job.
It's like something to consider if you don't know what you want.
But even inside the arts, you
Oh
know,
God,
like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like stuff around digital communications, digital filmmaking, all these. You now have. When I worked at Women in Theatre, we didn't have a photocopier, and we used to put everything in a plastic bag and go to Mosley on a Wednesday and pay for the photocopier in the post office. You literally have more computing power in your pocket on your phone, even if you've got a Nokia from 4 years ago. You know, you've literally got more computing power in your phone than most of the companies that, and I've known Pete back then. Pete ran Big Brum back then. What did we have? We had an Amstrad 9.5 PCW. If you were lucky.
A reel-to-reel answer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, so the world of work is changing. So that if you don't quite know how you fit into it yet, the world of work maybe is waiting to adapt to you too. You know, yeah. I think the days of going, I envy the people. I used to envy the people who go, yeah, I want to be. Apparently, Jonathan Bate, he's the leading academic at Warwick on Shakespeare. Apparently, he saw his first Shakespeare play aged 8 and went back to his house and went, "Mummy, when I grow up, I'm going to be the world's leading authority on Shakespeare."
Wow.
But you know, guess what he is now? But you know, that people are like. There's a thing called the black swan phenomenon. People like that are the exceptions, not the rule, but we make them the rule.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
And there is a possibility, isn't it, if you say when you're 8, this is what I really want to be, that you shut down every other opportunity.
Yes.
And sometimes that's helpful, but sometimes it really isn't. Sometimes just to be kind of breathing into the world and just seeing what it has to offer you is just a valuable. Yeah, well, think of all the things he isn't. I'm sure it's great, but you know, think of all the things he isn't because he made up his mind then. Is another way of framing that, isn't it? You feel uncertain.
Well, thank you all for your fantastic contributions. Yeah, I think we've got time for a few questions then. Does anyone have anything that they would like to ask?
I think going off that point, what encouragement would you give for someone like myself who fears the whole uncertainty of working in the arts?
I didn't hear.
Of working in the arts, sorry.
You mean
Are you
you're
asking
scared
anyone
of
in
having a
particular?
career in the arts because it's unstable?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah. What advice would you give?
I mean,
I enjoy the arts and I want to be a part of it, but I think that like the idea of freelancing is so intimidating that I'd rather not do it.
yeah.
So get a job.
Yeah, so apply for some.
So get a job in the arts. It's
But
Yeah.
what about it? Okay, but what about it is intimidating? What is it that you're afraid of?
I think it's the financial uncertainty. I think that, like realistically, I think that's what it is for me.
Right.
Steady income.
I
not having
suppose-
a steady-
Yes, the whole not having a steady income.
Well, the thing about it is actually nowhere's that steady.
Yeah, 100%.
During the last credit crunch, everyone at PwC went down to 3-day working. As soon as there's a recession, lawyers get made redundant at the stroke of a hat. Retail isn't that steady. But guess what? All the people who get laid off, all the people who move on, get other jobs, and the same happens in the arts.
Yeah.
I think there's. I'm sorry. I don't want to minimise your uncertainty or your because absolutely. But I think there's a myth that the arts is more unstable than lots of other sectors.
I think I've convinced myself that is
and I think
a
that's
real
a
problem.
bit of a myth.
Yeah.
You go downstairs to BRB and there's a lady Debbie working at the desk and she's been there 26 years. Now, I wouldn't want to work at the desk of BRB for 26 years. I don't think I'd like to work anywhere for 26 years. But, so we seek out the evidence that we want to, that the arts is unstable and you can't make a living. And I'm in my 50s now, and I've grown up with people who have slightly different times, but, you know, had homes. I don't know anyone who's been rendered homeless. They've had homes, had babies, paid mortgages. Geez, even had a car on the odd foreign holiday. Lived the dream. And they've done that, you know, they might have done a bit of bartending or a bit of bookshop working. You know, so I just maybe challenge the idea that it's as unstable as all that. It's
Also, be careful not to fall into the hole of taking that fear and making it an excuse to keep you from what it is that you're doing, because especially in film and television and those arts, I mean, the next job isn't guaranteed. So you know what? You go out and get a paying gig in between your creative and freelance jobs. But don't take that, because what that will do is plant that seed of doubt, and you will use that as an excuse to keep you from doing what it is that you want to do. So just make sure that you don't do that, because you can always go work at another job while you're in between jobs.
And in fact, you probably will have, you'll
will.
certainly have to. I know we will all have done
Yes.
that. Where you sort of think, I'm directing a play, and you're like, oh, I'm working in the pub. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's what you do, and it will take a while.
It will taper off.
Yeah,
I
and
remember
the
when
stuff in between will
Yeah.
taper off.
Gemma did her last stint of a Saturday night. She had 3 different little jobs, and her last stint, the last gig to go was she'd do a Friday night in the pub at the British Legion in Stoke-on-Trent. And when she gave up her British Legion job and just worked in the arts, it was like,
It's amazing when there's moments
get
like that.
in.
And they're all the more amazing for them being, you know, some people just walk straight into that, and that's wonderful. But they're all the more amazing for it taking a while to get there. For having those moments where you have a sense of the thing you really want to do, and then know next week you're not going to be doing it. But also I think that's right. What is it intimidating you? Are you sure you're not just listening to evidence and give it a go? Because some people don't want to freelance. It doesn't suit them. It isn't the thing that
it can be an anxiety filled.
Yeah, but so give it a go and see whether that's really true or not. But if you want to do something that it's about setting your life up in a way that's going to allow you to do the thing you really want to do. So if you want to, for example, be a director, it's sort of important not to get a full-time job somewhere, because you will never be able to, where do you read plays, see plays, get people together to push, how do you do that? But if you get a part-time job that pays your rent, and in the meantime you can pick up little bits and pieces.
But that's a very valid point too, because what will happen is you'll get a full-time job and then you'll be miserable because then you're not available to do
the things
what you want to do.
Yeah,
So it really is a circle there, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's take one more question.
The lady at the back.
Sorry,
Her hand very high.
Oh,
Going off on Hayley's point, did you guys ever have a moment in your life where you were like I want to give up, I'm too scared to do
Every
this?
single day.
And how do you overcome that fear? Like, how do you overcome the fear of, oh, I can't do this, or because it's
Because
really
you just
scary.
keep reminding yourself that that's a passing moment.
Okay.
And remind yourself why you started in the first place.
Yeah.
You've got like a goal, and
It's going to pass.
And often it happens to me in the middle of a process of
Yep.
playing. And I'm like, right, I'm getting to the end of this and I'm giving up. And then you sort of come in the next day like, oh, it's a bit better. And then by the time the show's on, like, it's fine.
You're like, oh, it wasn't so bad. When it's over, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad at all.
Well, there's a well-known curve. You can look it up. It goes, this is great, this is shit. This isn't so bad. And you're in the thing called the Valley of Doom. I did give up. I gave up when I became a lawyer.
I think if you have a passion for it and you just know, like with myself, I know that when it gets hard, I really just want to be like, okay, everyone was right, it was a stupid job, it was unstable, it was a dumb idea to work in the arts. But then I know that I'll just probably be really sad for a couple of months or a couple of years and then go back again. So when I have those days, I just kind of think, I'm not trying to start from day one again, if you know what I mean. I want to keep going, and I know that they're saying something like, you don't reap the rewards the same day that you sow the seed. And a lot of the time when we get presented, like if you think of people that you look up to, when you're presented them, there is a whole 10-year backstory before that day that you first saw them in their small cameo on television. There's so many years of work that people don't talk about, that we don't see. We only see like, oh, overnight success. No one is an overnight success, and there's no like tap that you just turn on and have everything. You work towards it bit by bit every day, and I think it's about building momentum, and I think it's about consistency, which is why whenever I have those bad days, I know in my heart I would never actually quit. I'd probably just be sad for a little bit.
And that's why, and it's good to have people around, isn't it? Because I bet you ring up other actors and go, I'm giving up. And like, well, you did say this last time. That always happens to me. So we have had this conversation before, the last time you did a production.
I just want to tell this lady back here, my last film, let me tell you, I went more prepared on that set than I have on any set. I had my shot list, I had my storyboards, we had been able to rehearse on location, which as an ND is not always possible. I mean, I went into this more prepared. It could have gone wrong, went wrong. My DOP had 2 breakdowns on set, just a nervous breakdown. The guy didn't show up with his light. I ran out of daylight. The lady's house that we were shooting in, her dog had to come back home. I mean, and I just wanted to like crawl into the fetal position and eat chocolate ice cream. But after I finished, yeah, she can relate. It was like after I finished that, I was like, oh am awesome because I got it finished. I got it finished. So if you could just study the course and know that, and no matter what, you get it done. Man, when you come out on the other side, that makes it even sweeter because you made it through. You made it through.
Sorry, can I just go back? So actually, because I just thought, did I give up? Or did I did I just do something else for a few years and then come back?
Yeah.
So I suppose the other thing is that well, A, the language around it, but also it's not. It ain't over till it's over. You know what I mean? It's like, are you giving up, or are you just going to take some time out? You know, history doesn't stop. You know what I mean? It goes on, and then you'll come back where you won't. But I think I don't know that you're necessarily talking about giving up on a job or a career, but more about giving up on your dreams or giving up on your vision of yourself.
Dreams can change.
And dreams can change.
Yeah.
So I don't think
been
you.
told that we need to.
Just
Okay. Great place to finish.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your contribution. You all and hear your views on things. That's been fantastic. As we round up, just to say that would be great if you could follow our Graduate Unleashed on social media. So we have Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, as do all of our wonderful panel. Tanisha White headshots. And if we could all, if possible, stick around for some networking and get to know one another and kind of work out what work's coming up and what's going on in Birmingham, that would be brilliant.